This episode of Toes on the Line is brought to you by Thorn. To receive 20% off any Thorn product, it's simple. Go to my Twitter or Instagram, shoot me a follow, regram or retweet the episode, send me a DM, and I'll send you a link. Welcome to the Toes on the Line podcast. I'm Joe Grassi, and I'm bringing on good friend, former colleague, Coach Gilfedder for part 2 today. He's still out there in the office in the Bronx. I'm looking at who's that, an intern behind you or another coach behind you?
This is Coach Joe. This is assistant coach Joe. He was actually a 4-year tennis athlete of ours.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Would never leave the weight room.
Uh-huh.
So we just figured we'd hire him. So he works with tennis. He works with football. He works with track and field now. He works with swimming and diving. So we can't get rid of him as an athlete, as an intern, and now as a full-time coach.
Dude, those tennis kids out there, it's like a cult now, them in the weight room. I remember that kid. What was his name? Maka?
Well, Maka's still local. He's in Brooklyn, actually.
Okay.
And Maka and Joe used to compete so hard against each other. So it was great for me to coach them and watch them. But Joe just decided to – Joe, what was your undergrad in again?
Information systems.
His undergrad was information systems. But this guy's a strength coach. So
information systems.
Yeah, he got his CSCS. He, got into grad school here as well in data analytics. So we're utilizing that skill as well. And then he just loves strength and conditioning. So I'm always bouncing ideas off of him. I can just reach back here and hit him and, say, Joe, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And the combination between him just being passionate about it and then knowing that Fordham culture, I think has allowed him to be really, really good. And he's only 22 years old.
No doubt. You talked a little bit about culture and or like setting like individualization and like foundations, like in your previous New York State Clinic talk, or was it another one at Long Island that you said a while ago, Stony Brook?
Both were very similar. So
okay.
Both were how to individualize movement in a large group setting, essentially. And that was done primarily with our Olympic lifting progressions as well as our squatting progressions. And we wanted to make sure that we found the right progression that the athlete felt comfortable doing, whether it be in relation to their anthropometrics, their current mobility, their past injury history. And it could certainly change over time, but we wanted to find the variation that was going to accomplish the goal of what we were looking for, whether that be force production, rate of force production, power production, and stick to that variation so that the athlete felt comfortable that they can progress and not just progress to the end goal because that's the supposed end goal, but along that continuum, finding the variation that we can overload, the athlete feels competent in, comfortable in, confident with, and just continue to really hammer that thing home. But it takes us having a toolbox as far as coaches to find that right variation.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're talking more like, hey, if you feel comfortable back squatting and it looks good, we're going to keep you here and then we'll progress you as needed on a need basis, or do you
Absolutely.
start with, okay. I was going to say, or do you start with like, hey, everyone's doing remedial and then we'll progress as we see fit for strength coaches, what looks good?
Well, it's a combination of the two, but
okay.
With our developmental program, and we actually call our developmental program the standard. So
the standard, I like that.
Yeah, that's what the title of it, right?
Okay.
The standard.
I'm stealing that.
Go ahead. I probably stole it from somebody else. But we start at a very basic level, like easy entry points. So we're talking about a heels elevated goblet squat. Mm-hmm. Most everybody can do, at least at the Division I football level or Division I level overall, can do a heels elevated goblet squat. Okay, our standard to graduate is taking 50% of your body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you're grabbing a 100-pound dumbbell and you have to do 25 unbroken repetitions. All the way down, heels to your butt, standing all the way up. Not only is it integrating that standard movement pattern that we're looking to establish with our knees out wide, our heels down, our chest up, vertical torso, driving up, it's also going to be a mental challenge. Okay, 25 reps of a bilateral squat with a heavy goblet, heavy dumbbell is going to be challenging. But if the athlete proves that they can do that, they have earned the right to go to our next variation. Our next variation in our squatting continuum is going to be a hands-free front squat. So we are teaching that front rack position. We are teaching that vertical torso. We'll typically utilize a tempo so that they really learn how to brace their quote unquote core, keep everything in line, learn the range of motion, and then we'll progress weight. Once they've had, 4 to 6 sessions of a hands-free front squat, like that zombie squat, then we'll transition to a standard clean grip front squat. And they've already been getting introduced to that because we utilize Olympic lifting variations. First the clean, then we'll build towards the snatch. But the combination of learning the front squat with the clean grip, getting integrated into learning the clean overall, it's a pretty seamless transition. And then, as you know, I'm a huge fan of the front squat, and we'll typically keep that as our priority, prime bilateral squat variation for a long time. And if the athlete hones in on their foot position, their torso position, their range of motion over a consistent period, then we will build towards doing a back squat. But that can be a long process. And sometimes the athlete will never get there. Sometimes the front squat will be their variation. Sometimes we'll have to mess around and see, okay, is a Hatfield squat our best variation? Does our athlete need that hand support to feel a little bit more grounded and keep that vertical torso and allow the knees to track in line with the toes? We've also utilized the Zercher squat successfully for some athletes that just struggle with depth. They may have a little bit longer limbs. You kind of talk about the different anthropometrics that come into play and what variations are going to help them. We have some athletes with extremely long arms, but struggle with mobility. So the deadlift becomes a bilateral variation that we utilize. We'll utilize a straight bar. We'll utilize a trap bar. And if it looks right and the athlete feels good with it, it's something that we can overload and it's accomplishing the goal that we're looking at. We're fine with that. Even though it's not the typical progression from goblet squat to front squat to back squat. Like, not everyone is going to be along the same path. But if we can choose the right tool that's going to garner the results that we're looking for, I'm fine with that as long as we can coach it effectively from a strength and conditioning staff.
Okay. Just to go back to the kettlebell, so you said 25 unbroken reps. Now unbroken, do you mean like technique's not broken, or is it just like nonstop down, up, down, up, down, up?
I mean, technique isn't broken, and they don't put the goblet down. So can't do 15 and then put it down and then, do 10 more. It's got to be 25 reps. Now, they can rest at the top. They can catch their breath. Because if you've done 25 reps of a 120-pound kettlebell, that's challenging. So it is certainly a test, but it's a badge of honor for our guys to go through that. Even to just get that thing into the rack position, you got to be ready.
No, that's not easy. So
I stole it from Jim Wendler.
Burner, man. Did you really? Okay.
I stole it from Jim Wendler. He does a lot with his high school athletes. And I was like, okay, if these high school kids can do it, we better well be able to do it. So that's one of our standards in regards to graduating along our squat continuum.
Okay. I thought that would have been more of a, what's his name? Yesus? He's the 1x20 guy?
Well, we'll incorporate a little bit of 1x20 within our developmental program because it keeps the overall, intensity lower, and they get to practice the movement for 20 repetitions. But so I was influenced by Dr. Michael Yesus, but I don't stick to his 1x20 program verbatim.
Okay, I thought that's where you got the 25 rep thing from.
It becomes your own. You find little ways to tweak it. I know Dr. Michael Yes's, he'll go 1x20 for a variety of different movements. Then he'll progress to 2 sets of 14, and then 1 set of 8. That's how he'll kind of progress it. Or he might just do 1 set of 14, so he increases the intensity, but obviously decreasing the volume.
Yeah.
And over time, he'll build it to like 2 sets of 8. But that's throughout a long-term athletic developmental program. And I have utilized that before, particularly with basketball at Dartmouth, but I've tweaked it a little bit to how we implement it within our standard developmental program.
No doubt, man. I would say this. I was talking to one of my athletes a couple days ago, one of our receivers. He was asking me about stuff I took away from the Giants, what these pro players and stuff. Like what's like his question was, hey, what does Odell Beckham do? Like, what's he like? And I'm like, he masters his craft. The most basic stuff, like just lining up, coming out of your breaks and whatnot. Cause players always complain, hey, coaches, we do the same stuff over and over. It gets repetitive. It's boring. You're probably one of the better strength coaches, if not the best strength coach at teaching kids how to master craft in the weight room. So if you want to just take some time and talk about, how you kind of sell, because it's hard for us to sell the process of, hey, we're not back squatting yet. We have to front squat for a period of time, and then you might lose a kid's interest. But, I've worked with you, Gil, and I still see you from afar. You guys are killing it, and it just looks like guys are mastering craft in the weight room. Just talk about your process and how you've coached it.
That's exactly what I aim to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I look at my program now, it's simpler than when I was a GA, programming, because you learn that it is about mastering those basics.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is going to squat, push, pull, hinge, loaded carry, do some core variation. But how are you going to do that? Mm-hmm. Okay, we need to do it with the highest standard possible. And if you're doing some fancy, crazy gimmicky thing, it's harder to master that and really hone in on the technique if you're constantly changing things up, if you're constantly just making it extremely complicated for the athlete to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And there's a great quote, as you talked about Odell Beckham there, I was thinking about Kobe Bryant. And somebody would watch Kobe do his skill work and was like, how are you the best basketball player on earth? You're doing all these basic drills. And he replied, I am the best basketball player on earth because I am doing these basic drills. That was his response. And that has always stuck with me because Kobe Bryant has been one of my favorite athletes to follow for his mindset, his work ethic, let alone his talent and ability. But that's what I aim to do inside of our weight room. We want to master our craft. And it just takes reps, and it just takes the culture, and it just takes the standard of Fordham strength and conditioning. Like, we are going to master every rep. We are going to make it a carbon copy. And I'm going to, quote unquote, hold kids back until they earn the right to go to a more complicated variation. Mm-hmm. It's going to take 2 years for most of our athletes to do any type of velocity-based training with our gym aware or chains or bands to the bar. An athlete may never get to the back squat because they have not yet mastered the front squat. I will keep a kid on a goblet squat for a year or two if that's what he needs to get better and really earn the right to utilize a barbell. Mm-hmm. He's got to earn the right to do a barbell bench press. We don't allow any of our athletes anymore, from a football perspective, to do flat barbell bench press until they can do a chin up. So whether you're a three, trust me, they are not fans of me. But we have some athletes who are over 300 pounds here who have not done a bench press in 2 years because they have not gotten their first chin up yet. Now, is that me not being a great strength coach, not getting them to their first chin up? Maybe. But I feel so strongly in trying to protect their shoulder girdle, their shoulder health, and stress the importance of relative body strength and controlling their body weight, because that's what they are doing on the field. Mm-hmm. I feel so strongly about trying to keep these guys' shoulders healthy that I am not going to further exacerbate the internal rotation, the fascination with the bench press, in the male football population, that while the rest of the group who can do chin-ups, they bench press, those guys are going to be working on their chin-ups. They're going to be working on their external rotators. They're going to be working on their trap three raise. They're going to be working on all those things, their core musculature that's going to allow them to get to their first chin-up, because those basic movements, a chin-up, a squat, a push-up, a correctly performed hinge, those things I want to be a master of the basics in regards to my coaching ability. I want to have those foundations so solidly planted that it's going to just set these guys up to be strong, to be durable, and then I could implement more complicated variations in the future.
Okay. Have you like heard or like seen anything with your players' shoulders? Like, have they talked about, hey, the shoulders feel better with less benching, or what have you seen over time?
It's very interesting. We've actually had less shoulder injuries. Our body composition is continuing to get better with
Okay.
those individuals. And we had our Lift for Life event, and I allowed those athletes to flat barbell bench. They went up. So I tested them when they came with bench press, got their number, did not bench press for months, over a year. Then they participated in our Lift for Life charity event, in which we repped out 225. Guys still had extremely impressive numbers without benching.
That's crazy, because I told one of my kids a couple weeks ago he wants to get his bench up, do more eccentric chin-ups and whatnot. That's interesting.
You can't shoot a cannon out of a canoe. You need that strong back.
Yeah.
You need those strong external rotators. And we will get some dumbbell benching. We will get some overhead pressing. I'm not saying that they don't do any type of pressing, but we will not flat barbell bench. They'll do pressing from different angles, push-ups, dips, things like that. So it's not a complete neglect of pressing, but it is interesting to see working on all those other facets, not necessarily specializing in the flat barbell bench press, and it's still going up.
Yeah. No, I see. I haven't tested any of my athletes. I don't bench press my swimmers. We overhead press more than anything. And then when we do bench, it's more of like a reward system. Like, hey, we've been great. Swimming's been great. Let's, we'll incline bench once this week, and the guys love it. The girls are like, whatever about it. But I do find the overhead press being more of a king in my toolbox now. Deadlift for me is always number one. Sprinting, and then obviously you could say jumping and whatnot, but like shoulder press is elevated in my programming more so than the bench press has.
I would agree with you. I think the shoulder press is a superior exercise to the bench press, particularly when done standing. And I think those that have pain with overhead pressing, it's just something that they've neglected for so long, so that their upper back, their posterior deltoids, and all those rotator cuff muscles are so disproportionately weak that that's where they get like these shoulder impingement issues. But if you correctly integrate overhead pressing from an early, training age perspective, I think it's much superior to flat benching. And you're only going to get stronger if you can overhead press a lot, the more horizontal you get. So it's only going to lead to a better incline press, a better flat bench, if you're strong in an overhead position.
I have been doing dumbbells in my C block with baseball guys, just to buffer up, get some extra volume and whatnot, little muscle builder there. Less in my A blocks though, obviously less more up there. But
hey, so utilizing more pulling variations in your A block with baseball?
I do, yeah, I do pull-ups. I'm doing more pull-ups than chin-ups now with my guys. Just because I felt like chin-ups guys were just handicapping themselves to the easier way to get up. I just feel like we just need more rear delt strength and whatnot. Just upper back's just not where it should be. You doing anything new, anything innovative outside of the basics?
I've definitely incorporated a little bit more open agility drills within our program, particularly here in the summer. So we're going to do a little bit of, our program speed work. But one of the things that it becomes more and more popular now on social media, and I've wanted to look into it, has been some of more of the open and reactionary drills. So whether it be some type of partner tag drill in an open box space where they have to like tag off on a hip and react off of a cat and mouse, that's been something that I've wanted. I've incorporated a little bit more. We utilized a lot of Tim Karen's concepts from strength deficit. So we'll do a lot of non-counter movement jumping with some of our in the box players, whereas we'll do a little bit more reactive and quick ground contact time plyometrics with our outside the box skill players. So that's been something that we've incorporated a little bit more. Very similar with our Olympic variations too. We'll have our linebackers, linemen start from a dead stop, whether that be from a block or a pause position at the knee, or even all the way from the ground in a clean variation. Whereas we'll utilize a little bit more hang variations with our skill position players, where they rely a little bit more on that stretch shortening cycle.
Just quick twitch.
So nothing crazy, but a little bit more open agility and reactionary speed, as well as position-specific plyometrics and Olympic lifting. But outside of that, we've really just been trying to hammer home the basics. And that's always going to be the foundation of what we're doing.
Yeah, no, definitely, man, definitely. But I have seen that. Did you start snatching guys?
Yeah, we've snatched guys a while now, and that's actually one of our records on our board now.
Really? Okay. Because when I was there, we never I never snatched anyone when I was there. I tried, and I was like, this is just I just can't do it right now in this room.
It's something that we've gotten progressively more comfortable coaching. I've done a few Olympic lifting seminars. Coach Joe, one of our assistants, and Coach Giorgio, they are pretty good Olympic weightlifters themselves and pretty good at coaching it. And myself and Coach Greer and Coach Britt are getting better at it every single day. Some athletes actually are better at it. We get a lot of guys who may have wrist issues, so that front rack position can be challenging. And I figured if me as a Division III athlete can learn the snatch at a decent level, these guys are much better athletes than I am. So we could teach them the snatch and they can be pretty competent in it. And you're actually going to develop a higher rate of force production with a snatch as opposed to a clean. Those mean and peak velocities are going to be higher. So it's a great tool for us to utilize as another Olympic variation, whether it be for an injury issue or another day in which we get one of those movements that's high power production.
Okay. So what record did you take off the board?
We took RSI off the board.
I figured you did. You guys just couldn't find a way to measure it?
We have a way to measure it with the jump mat. It's just something that we were not universally doing with enough athletes.
Gotcha.
But we do have a lot of teams that utilize the snatch. And I believe in the snatch. I think it's a great movement to include. It's just our jobs as coaches to coach it well. And if we can coach it well, I think it's an extremely valuable movement.
No doubt. Hey, are any of my volleyball girls still on their record board or no? They've been surpassed. It's over. Well, Giorgio's volleyball girls now.
Yeah, he's doing great. He's training them right now, actually.
Okay.
This is their first day here, and he's doing a great job with them. Well, Whitley Moody is one of our strongest athletes, and she's got a few of the records. I think she's got.
Yeah, she was tough.
Front squat. She's got clean. Yeah, they've got a good amount of records up there, man. They're good, and Coach Choi is a big supporter of us. So I know that's your boy.
That's my dog, man. He got a kid too. I saw on the Instagram.
Yeah, he's probably getting no sleep, but I actually just saw him running around here. They're going to Japan.
I saw that. Yeah.
A trip. So they're here for a few days, and they're actually going to Japan.
Guys can't hide money.
I'm keeping Giorgio here. He doesn't get to go on the trip.
Oh, damn. Sucker.
He's got I can't do it without him. I can't do it without him, man. I need him here.
How long are
Like they're going
they
to go
going
over
to
to,
Japan for?
I'm not sure, but they're going to 3 different cities. They're going to Tokyo, they're going to Osaka, and then one more.
Nice, good for yeah. They do that like every 4 or 3 years. I think they do those trips.
I think they try and get it so that, throughout your time at Fordham, you get a
You get
big
one
trip.
trip, yeah. You get that one big trip. I remember the girls saying it's like once every 4 years or something like that. And some girls might get a double. They're lucky
Get
enough.
that 5th year, and then in the case of COVID, that 6th year, you might get 2.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, matter of fact, speaking of COVID, are you guys like out with all the COVID kids, or is this like the last year for you guys?
I still have some kids that came in with me at 2018. I was
Yeah,
just
really.
talking to Cam Blair. I was just talking with a few of these guys. I'm like, how are you still here? I'm going on year 6. And they're like, well, I had this injury and then COVID. And I'm like, you should be coaching with me. I
Yeah,
shouldn't even
right.
be coaching you. I'm like, you have your doctorate by now? You should be an MD.
Yeah, we're at the tail end. This is everyone with that COVID year. This is like their final year playing. So you guys should have been out last year. So this is their last year. But anyway, back on track, man. So Gil, the last time we spoke, we weren't doing any like big things like speaking engagements and whatnot. Now we kind of both are. You're ahead of me more. You've done more. Talk a little about, professional development. How you've built that motivation and just, development within you yourself to say, hey, I was an assistant, then I became a head, and now you run you run both departments, right? The sports med and strength and conditioning. You oversee both.
Technically, yes. It's definitely a group collaborative effort. Aaron
Okay.
Kamen is great with that, but we work a lot closer with them than we did in years past, which is great. It's great for our student athletes.
Okay, I might have botched it then. I don't know how I just worded it, but okay. And then now you're doing speaking engagements. Talk a little about your professional development throughout your career and kind of where you're at now and what you've done to get there, and how you motivated yourself.
Well, just very, very similar to you and a lot of, luckily, our colleagues, we're just extremely self-motivated to learn. I make it a point every single day to wake up early and learn something. I'm going to do some type of reading. I'm going to do some type of continuing education. And I think when you just put in those reps and you put in those hours, you start to just hone in on your craft. And that's really what I'm hoping to do. And I think people notice that amongst myself, yourself, and others, that when you're passionate about learning, when you're passionate about getting better, you're passionate about coaching and helping others, you're going to get those opportunities to network and speak and share some of the good things that you're doing. So I've been lucky enough to speak at Stony Brook. I've been lucky enough to speak at the New York State Clinic held up at Ithaca College this past spring and share some things that have been working for us here at Fordham, one of which being the individualization in a large group setting in regards to our squatting, our pressing, our Olympic movements, and looking at all the different factors that go into that individualization. That's been something that I've been very, very passionate about. And I think people misunderstand individualization and they think of it in regards to the sport, whereas I try to individualize things more towards the individual. Because at the end of the day, are strong legs important for a football player? Yes. Are strong legs important for a swimmer? Yes. What's the exercise that is going to increase leg strength the most? It's probably going to be some type of bilateral squat variation. But the way in which we, on that continuum, what bilateral squat variation is going to be the best for that person. And it might be very different for a 6'5" football player versus a 5'6" swimmer and diver. So we need to use the right tool for the right person at the right time. Speaking has been something that I've really enjoyed, and it's been a big challenge for me. Public speaking is actually one of my biggest fears. And I remember public speaking in college. Every time I had to do it in a class, my palms would get really sweaty, very, very sweaty. And I feel like my voice would crack. Very, very difficult for me. The reps over time, getting in front of a large group and speaking, helped a ton. I don't get sweaty palms anymore, thankfully. Same thing with public speaking in regards to a clinic. I think the reps have allowed me to get better at it. And even though it's an uncomfortable situation to get in front of 100 of your peers who you really have great respect for, I get better at every single time. I want to speak more. I want to do more podcasts. I want to get out there more and really refine my technique. I find that it's a learning experience every single time I get on a podcast, every single time that I'm able to speak. And hopefully people will keep having me back on both for a long time.
Got to get you on a national stage next.
They would, and maybe I'll speak it into fruition right now. I went to Summer Strong this past year. I would love for one day to speak at Summer Strong, because when I walked in there down in Lexington, South Carolina, the energy was unbelievable. The strength history and the fact that people were so passionate about strength and conditioning all in one spot. It was a amazing weekend, but I will speak on any podcast. I will speak at any conference. I will not say no, but I'm going to speak it into fruition now. I would love to be able to speak at Summer Strong one day, because it was an amazing event.
I've never been, but I've only heard great things. Like same thing you just said, like high energy. Another good friend of mine, Christina Bernal, she goes every year. I don't know if you guys networked or met down there this past year, but what are some topics they talk about? Like same general, like strength and conditioning topics you hear at like a CSCCA or NSCA conference?
It's been a while since I've been to the NSCA conference, and I've never actually gone to the CSCCA, but Stan Efferding spoke about health, wellness, nutrition. He was great. Ben Patrick, the knees over toes guy, gave a great presentation on knee and back health. Corliss Fingers from Bethune-Cookman talked about all of her experiences as a strength and conditioning coach. Scott Sinclair from University of Georgia football. So you're seeing a guy who's the leader of the team from the last 2 national championships. There were countless great presentations. Michael Easter, who wrote The Comfort Crisis, great book that I've read and enjoyed and will certainly read again. It was awesome, but just the energy in the room, like everyone is just so passionate about strength and conditioning. It's like Disneyland for meatheads, and I'm a meathead at heart. So it's very rare that someone who, myself, I call myself a meathead. You get 1,000 meatheads together that they can just kind of talk, share ideas, network, have a meal together, have a beer together, those type of things. Those are rare opportunities. And to be amongst like-minded people like that, it's awesome. That's why you and I have gotten along for so long. And I'll just even send you some BS through Instagram or a message, because, you get around like-minded people, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a rare thing, particularly in our field.
I feel like I won't fit in that Summer Strong, man. I'm a little skinny dude. You
will.
Dude, I seen videos of all these dudes are pulling some weight down there at Summer Strong, man.
Well, guess what? We've got a whole summer to get stronger, so let's get to it, man.
Oh man, I've been slacking. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man.
Let's get going right now.
So you mentioned that Comfort Zone book. What was it called again?
The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. Okay. And he talks about he calls it a misogi. And a misogi is a very, very difficult difficult challenge. And you have a 50% chance of being successful, a 50% chance of being unsuccessful. But make sure you don't die. That is the goal of the misogi. Choose something that you may fail, but if you do accomplish it, it's going to be a great accomplishment, because it was very uncomfortable. It was very challenging. It stretched your limits. Just make sure you don't die. So that's kind of what the misogi is. And I believe he was up in Alaska, on this hunting trip, and extremely challenging, extremely brutal weather conditions. But because you go through something so uncomfortable. Now, when you come back to the comfortable lives that we're all so fortunate to have, you are that much more appreciative.
Okay. Okay. What hold on. What was the guy's name again? Author?
Michael Easter.
Mike East. Okay. I got to look into that book because I'm trying to read more. I'll be honest, man. I haven't read like a strength book in months, maybe years, but I've been trying to read more leadership books and books like that. Just that kind of
Well, I can tell you what, I'm going to put you on the spot. So, our staff book right now, this goes for anybody who's watching, is Tough by Greg Everett.
tough.
So,
Okay.
he's the one who actually is in charge of Catalyst Athletics, that has been kind of known for strength and conditioning in regards to Olympic weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's a
I'm
thick
only
book,
about,
man.
it's only about 250 pages. It's not bad.
Oh, it looks like a
But
400-page book.
no,
Oh,
255
okay.
pages.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm about 40 pages in. This is our staff book for the first half of summer. Second half, we're going to do a different book. But hey, jump on this one. So far, so good. I'd invite anyone to join the Fordham Barbell Book Club.
Barbell Book Club. I like it.
Or the Strength City Book Club. No one take my idea, but
No, it's all
that's
copywritten
it.
on recording here. It's all it's all
Yeah,
patented
I got
already.
it. The
I'm
Fordham Barbell Book Club.
I'm reading. We don't do staff reading, unfortunately. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. But outside of, I've just been reading a ton of research. But I have been reading. You're gonna laugh at the second book. The first book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Great one.
Great book. I'm just trying to be a better leader every day because, talking with Ted Rath months ago, he was like, "Hey, we're a leader amongst men, and we got to lead men." I'm like, "You're right." So I'm not a coach. I'm a leader. So I got to be able to lead these young men into, better lives, better ways of living. But the second book, or series of books I'm trying to finish reading is The Lord of the Rings.
You know what? I think there's a lot of value in reading fiction.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
love
something
Lord of
that
the Rings, man.
I do not read fiction enough. So I should probably get out of my comfort zone and read that. Now, I don't know if I'm going to read about hobbits, but maybe I'm going to venture out into my next book into some type of fiction.
I'm out here reading about hobbits, goblins, and elves, man. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I don't know if you are or if you watch the movies, but I was like, you know what? I said I got to read the books because I've heard they're better and they're different. That's kind of like my nighttime read when I'm just winding down.
It's good to read stories like that, particularly when you're trying to wind down. I
Mhm.
think those are great before bed books. If nothing else, they kind of relax you a little bit and you get your sleep in, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. You're not reading no research or just straight books.
I tend more towards the research, and obviously, I'm keeping up to date on stuff that I see in social media, but whether that be good or bad. No, I don't read studies as much. Is that what you're doing? You're really looking into the studies that are being published,
Like
or
this
old
whole
school research?
no, like studies that are being published like these last couple years. I'm just trying to master up, this whole GPS stuff and how do I marry that with force plates? That's just like stuff I'm just trying to cross correlate and compare. And that's just my interest with research in the morning. I'll read that stuff in the morning and then.
That's great. I haven't done. I've had more trouble just reading research studies as much as I am really good with reading books.
Uh-huh.
And then trying to kill as many audible books and podcasts as I can, with my commute. But that's something I should get into because that's a great skill to have. And particularly sports science is going to be more and more emerging and part of our field over time. That thing is really going to change the game. So it's great that you're immersing yourself in that.
No, I'll tell you some stuff when we stop recording because I don't want to put what I'm trying to unravel here on record. That's in-house information.
The secret stuff.
No doubt.
I don't want to play Monmouth now. You got the secret sauce.
No. Don't no, listen. That stuff doesn't win or lose football games. Just make sure we get guys healthy on Saturday. That's it. But
that's huge, man.
Hey, listen, I loved getting you back on here. Picking your brain on stuff you've been talking about, stuff you've been working on, mastering craft. Just your whole culture that you guys have in the weight room there. What is it called? God, Steve was telling me a couple weeks ago. Not a brotherhood. What it is?
The Ramley?
No, not the Ramley. No. Shoot.
Process.
No, no, not a process. Oh my God, what is the word? I can't even think of it right now.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, just the whole culture that you guys got going on. Fuck, what's the word? It's pissing me off. Oh, it's not a cult. It's not a cult. What is it? Like a
The
following.
mafia.
No, not the mafia. I wish it was the Bronx Mafia. That's a good one right there.
Yeah, man. The mafia, man. We're right here by Arthur Ave.
Bro, yeah, matter of fact, speaking of the Bronx and the mafia, do you guys still do the Bronx curl? I still have people that reference that to me to this day.
You talking about just Nordic curls? Well, I mean, we did Nordic curls yesterday, man.
The,
Three by
the,
five.
the single leg Nordic, the Bronx curl.
Oh, yeah. We haven't done any single leg Nordics, but we as a staff, we did Nordic curls. The athletes did Nordic curls yesterday. Giorgio is actually extremely impressive. He was doing pause reps on the ground himself. So a coach himself pausing on the ground, blasting up. So he's ready to run a 4.40.
So he started lifting again. Last time
Yeah,
his knee was bummed
strong.
out, right? Wasn't it like ACL sprained or something like that?
Well, he's doing more and more jujitsu, and he's really good. He's actually competing very soon, and he's going to do a great job. But I think the jujitsu he can beat you up a little bit. But no, he's training hard, man. He's strong as an ox.
Yeah. You still fighting jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, all that stuff?
I'm doing the Muay Thai and enjoying the striking, and it's something that I wish I had done earlier, but I'm going to do some type of mixed martial art until the day I die, man. I think it's so good to have that as a anchor in my life. And I think it's great for me to get coached because now I'm more empathetic to the athletes. I'm more understanding of the athletes and how they're feeling because I'm still treating myself as an athlete. Because it's different if I'm just exercising on my own or even with the staff. But for me to get coached by someone, I think it makes me a better coach.
But trying to keep up with a lot of boxing more than you watch UFC or no?
I keep up with it, yeah.
Okay, I'm not into that as much as boxing, but yeah, UFC. I just never got into it, man. Never got into it.
It's so impressive, particularly mixed martial arts where they've got such varying skills. Like Giorgio does a lot of the ground jujitsu work. I do a little bit more of the striking work. It's amazing that these guys are able to meld the two and then be good wrestlers and maybe have a judo background. It's unbelievable. It truly is an art that these guys are able to combine and master all while someone is trying to take your head off. It's crazy.
I would love to see you and Giorgio go at it one day, man.
I don't want any part of Giorgio.
No, don't say that. I would pay, no, don't get that guy kudos, man. I would pay admission price, like right at the door, to come watch you guys go at it, man.
Well, hopefully it never comes to that. I value my job, so
good
we
stuff.
don't need HR getting into it because the strength coaches started brawling each
other.
No.
You'll fight right over there at the gym.
Yeah, keep it under wraps.
Yeah. Nobody got to know. If they want to know, they come pay ticket prices. That's all.
Exactly. That might be a good fundraiser for Fordham Athletics.
Oh my God.
We'll raise some money, man.
That's not the way to raise money, but I see what you're saying. But yeah. Hey, Gil, man, I appreciate you getting on, man. This is good stuff, and I'm definitely gonna do a part 3 at some point, maybe post football season, to see how the shoulders end up with the no benching. Because I would agree that is probably a great way to mitigate shoulder pain, impingement, whatever you want, stuff that guys go through with it on a yearly basis with shoulder issues. So we'll definitely catch up on that stuff.
Yeah, man, I love jumping on with you, man. So anytime, hey, man, thank you for having me on, man. Anytime. I got to get down to you, man. You know what? You should put me to work. I would just want to garden for you. I could be your gardener, man. I want to get in there and just give me like a tomato or two.
I'll tell you what, dude, hold on. Before we get off, I should have called you when I was digging out the other section of my yard to, fill out more of the, it's like I dug out like 8 more yards of like garden space.
I'll drive out and I'll help you this weekend.
Dude, it took me, I swear to God, it took me 10 hours between 2 days. 10 hours between 2 days because I had to stop at 5 because my back was giving out. Just
give me a couple tomatoes. I just need like 3 tomatoes. I'll put in a good 8 hours of work. 3 tomatoes.
I'll probably get you down here in August whenever you got an off day during camp to come help me make tomato sauce. I'll give you a couple bottles.
I need to get that Gio Grassi family recipe.
Yeah, man. Very simple. Very simple. Tomatoes and basil. That's it.
I would love it, man. But I don't have any garden space here in the Bronx, so if I can get a little bit of get my hands dirty, that'd be fun.
Next year. I'll definitely get you down here in May next year, man.